Without further ado, the first part of the session is really about what's currently going on in relation to children and young people and connecting with nature. And first up, if we can have the slides, please, Graham, is Nick from the Broads Authority. Perhaps you could put that into slideshow form, Graham, if that's possible. Or shall I do it?
Yeah. Are we all okay? I mean, I'm seeing my slide. This is Nick from the Broads Authority, by the way. I'm seeing my slide fine at the moment, and I'm quite happy with that. So I don't know if anyone else needs it in a different format. Is that okay?
Carry on, Nick.
I'll take those as yes. Great stuff. Hello, everybody, and yeah, my name's Nick. I work for the Broads Authority, the organisation that looks after the Broads National Park. And I get involved in most of the education and outreach and engagement work that the authority does. And that means I work promoting understanding in the Broads and about the Broads, essentially. So we do an awful lot of partnership work. And to put it in a nutshell, we really try and work with partners and groups on bespoke national park focused education. Essentially we do an awful lot of practical conservation work with groups of all ages, really from year threes, pretty much the youngest, through to adults. Lots of practical work conserving the national park. We also do curriculum linked activities to do with basically all the things that the national park would have a tale to tell on. So it could be ecology, it could be geography, it could be history, it could be environmental stuff, but we try and focus our activities outdoors. That's crucial. We do essentially Broads discovery days, which can be a single day activity based around a number of activities to bring out the special qualities of the national park, or we do multi-day programs. I've done quite a lot of really nice multi-day programs focusing on a sort of youth ranger approach with a number of schools and youth groups around the area, and we try and develop those around a John Muir Award, which is all about discovering, exploring, conserving and sharing wild spaces and getting young people to appreciate and understand and love and care for the natural environment of and the Broads especially. So we've done some great stuff with organisations like Notre Dame and Broadland High School and Long Stratton and the Garage youth group, and New Routes as well has been one of our working partner groups that we've worked with recently. We also offer young people work placements, and I think that's a really crucial role of the authorities because it gives them a really in-depth understanding of what it's like to work for an environmental organisation. And I do believe that work placements, correctly delivered, can be truly life-changing for young people. We try and make everything active, engaging, inspirational, and especially fun. I love it. I love what I do, really. We've got a lot of volunteers that work with groups, and I think they provide an excellent and a tremendous role models for young people across the board. Recently, we've been delivering a national project, part of a national project called Generation Green, funded by the Green Recovery Challenge Fund from DEFRA. And so we've had the opportunity to deliver discovery days, residential experiences, and long-term programs with groups. And that's been brilliant because we've had the opportunity to get to know the young people rather than them just coming for a single day's activity. In the future, we've got projects with the Henderson's Trust. We've got a peat project working with young farmers on the benefits of wetland agriculture. We're looking at an Anglian Rail community funded project to get young people out to the Broads using the trains. Ironic today, but there you go. And we've got a future collaboration with a number of youth groups, including New Routes, as I mentioned already, Clarion, Housing Group, and the Garage, and I think I already mentioned the Henderson's Trust. So we're pretty diverse in our approach, but we've taken a sort of bespoke and working with young people over a longer period kind of strand in our strategy for the time being. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thanks very much, Nick. That's great. We'll have an opportunity perhaps for some quick questions later, but I do know you've got to disappear, so
I've got to disappear.
good luck with the dentist.
Yeah.
Over to Matt Willer. Matt, welcome. I think you're there somewhere. My apologies, we haven't managed to use your slide because we've been having technical problems with the video, but hopefully we can hear from you, Matt. Are you there? Can hardly hear you, Matt.
Okay. Well, I'm currently at the Hunstanton School allotment, so I hope people can hear me.
That's better.
Yeah, my name is Matt Willer, and I'm the school project lead for a new charity in Norfolk called the Pappian Project. And our charity works with over 30 secondary schools across Norfolk, which is approximately a quarter of all of them. And before I embarked on this, I was a secondary school teacher myself. And the picture that you're looking at on the screen is a photograph taken from the allotment project at Weetham High School, where I was employed as a teacher. And that really became the accidental pilot project that then inspired many others to go on and create a charity called the Pappian Project. And if I'm honest, as much as I really, really enjoy what I'm doing, I was a bit naive, if I'm honest, to leave the safety net of full-time teaching to embark on creating a regional charity. But our work has grown and grown since the charity began in the summer of 2019. And ultimately what we're doing is we're creating school allotments specifically in secondary schools, some sixth form colleges, and also some pupil referral units across the county as well. And as I mentioned, I'm currently speaking to you from the school allotment here in Hunstanton or Smithton High School. So these allotments that we create, the way we see them are, in many respects, they are a learning facility for the whole school to use. So they're not an exclusive club within the school. They're a facility that teachers across the board can come and use it to teach children about plant biology, obviously the classic lunchtime session, that sort of thing. So that's the way that we create these projects. But a lot of our work is not just about creating these projects. We actively work with the local community, and we're forever giving talks about our charitable work, because we're not only growing allotments, we're not only growing enthusiasm, we're also growing help from the local community. Because there's no point in what we're doing unless you can't make it future-proof and you can't make it sustainable. So that's a key part of what we're doing. And why put all this work into secondary schools? Well, its teachers are very busy, and I know that from personal experience myself. And we realised that there was a great need to create an external organisation that could come in as charitable technicians to create these projects from scratch. And as I'm sure you'll all join me in agreeing that this really is the decade that we really need to inspire children and young people to
You're gonna for nothing.
be aware of where comes from and their bodies.
If you all please put your mics on mute. Speaking.
As I was saying, that's this is the next decade. This is a crucial time to inspire the next generation to at least be aware of where their food comes from. But in many respects, what we're ultimately doing as a charity is that we're using these allotment spaces to ultimately help children feel more confident about themselves in lots of different ways. And one of the chief ways amongst them is the real fear of eco-anxiety, which really does exist, and we see it almost on a daily basis in school. Children are very unsure about their future. They're very well aware of the ecological disasters and the permanent irreversible damage which awaits us. And they're very mindful that they want to do something. So engaging them in the school allotment, growing through that school, is one way that kind of helps to solve that for little children. So yeah, the core of our charitable work is we come at this as youth workers, as opposed to professional gardeners, if that makes sense. And the most important thing for myself and the shy of 50 volunteers that we have across the county is that we are here to create a really good experience for these children and young people. Because, as a former teacher myself, I know if you don't create a good experience, if the children don't like the lessons, then they won't really be interested in taking it further when they grow up. So that's absolutely key to what we're doing as a charity. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what we do as a charity. And yeah, you're very welcome to visit the website. It's probably the best place to see the vast collection of our charitable work here in Norfolk. So
Many thanks, Matt. Great to hear from you. Enjoy the rest of your evening at Hunstanton.
thank you, I will do. Thank you.
Cheers. Next we have Louise from Forest School side. Louise, are you there?
Hi there, yeah, hi, I'm Louise. I've also got Lily Rowe, my daughter, with me, so I apologise if there is some sort of extra commentating.
Children participating, that's what we need.
Yeah. So I'm kind of wearing multiple hats for this talk, because I am a trustee of the Forest School Association, which is the national charity for Forest School in the UK. But I am also based in Norfolk and been a Forest School trainer for the last 15 years, as well as a Forest School practitioner. So I'm imagining many of you've heard of Forest School, but just a brief kind of potted history. It kind of came to the UK in the early 90s from Scandinavian early years practice. And it could be described, it's a particular type of outdoor learning that is rooted in humanistic psychology. And it's a long-term process where the same group of children will go out to the same natural sites on a regular basis, ideally weekly throughout a year. And the idea is very much to build emotional resilience, confidence, self-esteem, and those sort of more emotional social aspects of a person through connection. So the heart of it is nature connection and building relationships between the people and nature, but also between each other, and also connection with self as well. So it is a very holistic approach. In Norfolk specifically, we've kind of had Forest School programs running since sort of around 2004, 2005. And it's kind of grown through, so Forest School is a grassroots movement, which is important to be aware of, rather than a top-down initiative. So in terms of the whole UK and locally in Norfolk, it has grown through practitioners wanting to do it fundamentally. And there is a training course that is associated with it. So it's primarily been spread through the training. I did kind of a rough back of the envelope calculation, and I reckon that over the last 15 years I must have trained at least about 1,000 people of a particular level. So there are 3 levels of Forest School training, so that's not all 1,000 Forest School leaders, but somebody who's had some level of training, including like introductory level training. And Forest School works in loads of different ways. So it's a bit misleading because you don't need a forest and it's nothing to do with school. So it's not the most appropriately titled approach. So it's used with all ages, all the way from young babies through to adults. There are people running adult groups in terms of Forest School groups. And it can also happen in all sorts of outdoor natural spaces. A woodland environment is ideal because of, I guess, humans have evolved to be in woodland. So there's something particularly special about woodland. However, that's not an essential part. It's much more about the ethos and the way of working with people that makes it Forest School. So there are people running programs in the corner of school playing fields and they're having to import materials. There are people using gardens and allotments for Forest School. There are people who do go out to more kind of wilder wood and maybe are using other people's land for that. People are running things off of heathlands, meadows, even the beach. You can run Forest School on, although certain people refer to it as beach school, but it's more about that learner-centered, play-based philosophy that's behind it that makes it Forest School rather than the actual location. On my slide, I've kind of got a crazy mandala there, which is explaining a little bit more. There are 6 principles to Forest School, which is what's represented in that kind of Venn diagram there. So all Forest Schools should have these underlying principles, but they might, well, they will look very different depending on who's coming to them and where they're at, and the site itself. So I guess historically in Norfolk, we've also had a lot of support from the local authority, but with changes and things, that perhaps is not so strong anymore. But we do have a really strong local group. So through the Forest School Association, the National Forest School Association, there is the ability for local networks to form. And so we've got a really strong Norfolk Forest School Association local group that have regular meetups and share practice and kind of support each other. So I'd say that, you know, Forest School is happening well in lots of different contexts. Sorry, lots of different contexts in Norfolk, and it has a really good, strong, friendly community. And it's all about relationships with nature and connection. And I'm going to mute myself now because I'm getting shouted at. So sorry about that.
Thank you very much, Louise. And also thank you to your daughter. Fabulous. Over to Graham. Graham, outdoor learning.
Hi there. So yeah, a bit like Louise, I wear a number of different hats. I'm employed by Norfolk County Council as the advisor for outdoor learning. Although my title is outdoor learning, obviously a fair amount of my time, as many will know, is absorbed with educational visits. So I cover all educational visits from wide and far away to the more local as well. And I think that's one of our current messages is around post-COVID. It was a really good chance for schools to really have a look again. And we did some work in conjunction with the Learning Outside the Classroom Council to try and encourage more schools to look locally. Obviously the first phase to use their school grounds more effectively, then to get into their local nearby area as well. So we've done a number of initiatives around that. We use a system called Evolve, which is our educational visits online system for visit approval and planning systems, and that's just introduced a new local area visit function, like a short form, to again try and encourage more schools to stay local and do things easily in their local area as well. I'm just going to put up in chat a series of web links. I said I represent a number of different bodies. I'm on the Outdoor Education Advisors panel, and the advice we give to schools is freely available and from a site called OEAPNG, Outdoor Education Advisors National Guidance.info, and that's freely available guidance, and that's the guidance that we provide to all schools to use around that. You'll see it is very much educational visit focused, probably less so on the near school side stuff. There's some useful materials in there as well. Till recently, I sat on the board of the Council for Learning Outside the Classroom. I stepped down from that, trying to reduce the number of different organisations that I'm currently directly involved with, or at the trustee level anyway. And many of you will know some materials there. One of the key things we try and encourage our schools to have a look at is a thing called the MARC, the Learning Outside the Classroom MARC. It's a bit like Sports MARC and Arts MARC and so forth, but it just focuses on how those schools use the outdoors and gives them a good way to benchmark and plan for particularly progressive programs. So by gold level, it's a bronze, silver and gold, nothing unique there, to try and encourage folk to have a progressive program for all their pupils within that. We do have a number of schools in the county who've got the MARC, so that's quite effective as well. And some of you who are providers, we've got a couple of providers here as well, you'll also know about the quality badge, which is our way of assurances for providers to try and again reduce the bureaucracy for teachers, so they know they're going to a good, both safe and high quality provider as well. So I think amongst all those different headings, the 10 picture bits you've got on the board there, they actually come from a document called High Quality Outdoor Learning, which I've provided a link to as well. And if you want more details, I might be able to print at the moment, but you can certainly download that document from there. I think they're still very, very key ones. And that bottom one for me, for my experience of working with Norfolk schools particularly, that need to broaden horizons. Although broaden horizons, we all think very as they're far, far away. Actually, for our Norfolk children, we don't need to take them very far to be in a new environment with that as well. I spent Saturday monitoring some Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme groups up on the North Norfolk coast, and shadowing a few of the groups. Quite fascinating. These are only children from Norwich, from a high school in Norwich, and it was fairly obvious their knowledge and experience of the countryside was fairly minimal. So it showed the value of that, which I think might come up later on as well. So that's really me. My key thing is trying to progress, promote and encourage teachers. We've certainly found some skill loss and some confidence loss post-COVID, with teachers forgetting what they could do before, or just asking to double check, are we allowed to do this, and so forth. So lots of encouragement and hand-holding support to try and get teachers back out into the wider world, but with a lot of focus on trying to get them to really think about using their local environment, their local areas of school grounds as a first stage, rather than just piling on coaches and heading off long distances. Okay.
Thank you very much, Graham. We were due to have a recorded session from Penny Shepherd from Inspiring Norfolk, but that's obviously not going to be possible. Graham, did you want to just say anything briefly about your knowledge of Inspiring Norfolk?
Yeah, the reason I flagged that up, if you get a chance to look at their website, they've got a large number of good resources there, and I just think that might be something we can build on as a sort of repository and way of keeping resources and information for teachers all in one place. Otherwise, we end up with loads and loads of disparate bits, unless the teacher's got some real enthusiasm to search around. They may not find so. That was just an initial thought, that maybe they could become a repository for some really good links and resources.
Yeah. I would say Penny was very enthusiastic about the campaign, very supportive, and it's a shame we can't show her recording, but obviously I'll be circulating that around afterwards, so you will be able to look at it. I suggest, in view of time, we move straight on rather than stop for questions sort of halfway through. So if you could just roll forward, that's Penny for you. Yeah. That would have been the recorded message. If the next one, it's Kate from Wild East. And one more, I think.
Okay,
that's it. Yeah, Kate, over to you.
Oh, okay, lovely. So yes, so I'm hopefully, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. So yeah, I'm Kate Jackson. I'm the new education lead for Wild East. I've been in the role just over 2 months. I'm the first education lead. I'm a primary school teacher. I'm a level 3 forest school leader. I'm a maths mastery specialist, and I think it's fair to say a long-time community organizer. We have got 2 other people from Wild East on the call as well. We've got Alice, who's the program director, and Kate Baker, who's a volunteer and also an experienced primary school teacher. So we've got quite a good little team of us working on the program. If you haven't come across Wild East before, hopefully you have, but if you haven't, we are people powered, we're multi-sector, and we're all about nature recovery and being in alliance. We're aiming to be part of the solution to the loss of species, abundance and diversity, helping people to take personal responsibility, corporate responsibility. We're looking at the sort of disconnection that we have from the natural world, and also really wanting to be part of looking at how, at the moment, efforts can be quite disconnected, and how we bring them together to solve the issues. So obviously this group is a great start for looking at how we can do that in terms of children's nature connection and education, how we can bring ourselves together and collaborate more. So the Wild East vision is to have an eastern region that embeds nature recovery in everything that we do, to be able to sort of show this, demonstrate success and act as inspiration for the rest of the UK and beyond that. And one of the key values is around democracy. This is one of the things that really attracted me to Wild East. The idea is that everybody can be part of returning 20% of our land to nature, whether that's your window box or your small garden, whether it's your school, your community, your farm, or you're a big landowner. What people can do is they can pledge, and you can do this, pledge your efforts on our Map of Dreams, which is an online map where you can visibly see pledges that people are making and how your small action is part of a much bigger picture, which creates that kind of connectivity and corridors for wildlife across Norfolk. Because as we're hearing, it's great that everyone's starting to speak the same language, watching things on Countryfile everywhere, that people are talking about how we need to be able to connect up these areas for nature, not just have small pockets of nature that we visit. And so we're really trying to be part of doing that across the eastern region. Obviously, there's a lot of educators here, and we know that we are really good at collaborating, and that's what I'd really like to see organisations doing across the East, is collaborating. Over the last 2 months, I've developed a schools program for Wild East that is hoping to complement what already exists and to build on what everyone else is already doing. Obviously, we've got the new DFE Sustainability and Climate Strategy, which is not perhaps as bold and as urgent as some of us would like it to be, but it does move nature connection up the list of priorities in schools. And as someone who's only just stepped out of the classroom, I'm sure a lot of you realise the competition in schools in terms of what teachers have to try to focus on from 1 minute to the next is huge. So the good thing about this strategy is it does highlight nature connection and gives it value and importance. And, you know, whether you think nature connection being an Ofsted related thing is a good thing, yeah, at least it raises its priority. At the moment, we're delivering the new programme to a number of pilot schools. And the focus of the programme is particularly around giving children and teachers agency. The idea is for it to have long-term impact and for them to take action independently of us over time. And the programme's really underpinned by permaculture principles as well. So it's not just rewilding, it's looking at how can schools use the space to benefit the children as well as wildlife. So things that are low maintenance, low effort for the adults and staff, and easily interacted with by the children and wildlife. This summer, I'm going to be developing an online toolkit that schools and children in particular can use independently. And I'd really love to collaborate with other organisations on this. We've been talking to Ben Earle, who is Norfolk County Council Environment Hub, and looking at how we can create kind of a one-stop shop. So a little bit like Graham was just saying about having resources in one place for time-poor teachers. And so to be able to create sort of a one-stop resource that brings in all our different strengths, because we all have slightly different focuses, and brings it all together for teachers would be really powerful. So I'd love to chat more about how we can become more than the sum of our parts. And in the same way that we want wildlife corridors connected up, how can we connect up with each other and get more children out in nature?
Thanks very much, Kate. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. I mean, we're obviously talking a lot about schools at the moment, which is understandable. But of course, there are other ways of connecting with children and young people. And we've got a couple of examples of those coming up, I think, in a while. Moving straight on, if that's all right, to Isabel from Norfolk Wildlife Trust. Isabel, over to you.
Thank you, Nigel. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here, so thank you for inviting me along. I'm afraid my slide is very brief. It's got our hope on here rather than what we already do. But that's important because that's central to everything we do. So I'll just quickly read it out. People look after what they care about. We would like to get as many children and young people living in Norfolk connected to nature and wildlife as possible so that they care about it and help to safeguard it for the future. So that's our key hope. And me within this vision, within this hope, well, I at the moment head the education team at Norfolk Wildlife Trust. We're quite a small team, but we cover all of Norfolk. Many of you will be familiar with the wildlife trusts. We are one of 46 charities, wildlife trust charities. And in Norfolk, yeah, we are responsible for, the education team are responsible for engagement with children and families. So who do we work with? Well, we work with reception year age children all the way up to university. And we work with thousands of children and young people every year. What we do in our sessions is all wildlife themed, because our vision is not only, I mean, the wider organisation is about protecting and enhancing habitats through sympathetic management for the future of wildlife, but our sort of mission is part of the second part of the vision of Norfolk Wildlife Trust, which is connecting people with and inspiring them by Norfolk's wildlife and wild spaces. So everything we do is wildlife themed and is all about trying to restore and sort of motivate action to get people in sort of doing good things for nature, being connected with nature and wildlife, and taking on board things that they can do themselves. So I suppose our little motto, if you like, is discover, explore, and take action. So that's what we try to do in everything we do, whether they be school sessions or family sessions. So the objective of all that, as I said before, is to safeguard nature's wildlife into the future. So who do we engage with? I've already given you a little bit of an idea. Well, we engage with schools and universities on our reserves. We also do lots of outreach work, so into school grounds mainly, but also in school activities, but mainly outside. We try to be outside as much as possible, and we do sessions like habitat trails. We look at school grounds, so we'll look at signs of wildlife. What does that mean? So reading the area, if you like, and looking for signs, owl pellet dissection, pond dipping, wild art, mini beasting, looking at plants. So a real range of different things. Might do bird watching. We also do bird surveying, coastal management processes with higher age groups, strandline surveys, all that kind of stuff. So it does have geography embedded in it as well, obviously, as the age groups increase. So that's our stuff to do with schools. Then we also, as Nigel mentioned, we're one of the organisations that also has family events. So we have a programme of events throughout the year during the school holidays where we will engage with family groups on our reserves mainly, but also at some sites in North Norfolk, like West Runton, where there are some brilliant rock pooling and fossil hunting areas. So we do that during the school holidays. We also have a monthly club, which is regular, because generally our sessions, our visits are one-offs at the moment, unless they're project related. But our Wildlife Watch Club is a monthly club, and that at the moment takes place at one of our reserves, Hickling Broad Nature Reserve in the Broads. And that has a different theme each time, seasonally appropriate theme, and we have a calendar that goes out in the winter before. And so we engage with children there from the age of 5 to 11, roughly, with their families. So I also mentioned the project work that we do, because if a school pays for us to come and visit, then those children are exposed to nature. You know, the school itself is interested in getting their children out, whether it be for a school trip that enhances their well-being, and you know, it might be end of school year, but still they're being outside, they're getting outside, the school is prioritizing that. Families that take their children to family events, again, are people who are interested in wildlife and want their children to be exposed to wildlife. But our project work really is where we are engaging and connecting with children and young people who might not otherwise have that opportunity. So we are involved in loads of different project work, often partnership project work. So for example, we've worked with food banks in Norwich and Yarmouth to work with children and families who would normally receive free school meals, so doing holiday clubs. We've worked with the Shore Start centres, 3 short start centres across Norfolk, providing monthly sessions that are seasonally appropriate. We've worked with Greater Anglia as well, going into schools, delivering assemblies, North Norfolk District Council. We're currently involved in a project with Wells Church and the community there, the community hospital, delivering wellbeing sessions, wild art sessions, mini beasting sessions. They're all sort of wellbeing focused, heritage and wellbeing focused. I'm involved in the Watermills and Marshes project, which many organisations across Norfolk are also associated with. So we're involved in lots of different projects, and those are really fundamental to reaching potentially hard to reach communities, hard to reach sort of young people and children. There is one that we're working with at the moment, which is focusing on youth, because that's an area that we really want to expand on, which is called the Common Ground project. So that's where we're really trying to use that as a pilot to see how we might work with slightly older children, teenagers. So yeah, that's what we currently do. What we're launching this year, as I said, with regards to our youth work,
can you be brief, Isabel? We're running out of time, if that's all right. Thank you.
Sure. We're launching our work experience programme, so to engage GCSE age children. And in the future, what we would like to do is expand our youth offering, and we would like to do more long-term, have more long-term opportunities to connect and engage with young people and children. And we are also, as Kate mentioned, interested in the natural history GCSE and the opportunities that might arise from that. Yep, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Isabel. Some fascinating stuff already going on and planned as well. Moving swiftly on to Louise from Green Light Trust. Louise, welcome. Are you there, Louise?
Hello. Yeah, sorry,
yes,
I was just
well,
unmuting
good.
myself. Hello, hi. So yes, I'm Louise and I work for the Green Light Trust. We are a charity who provides support to vulnerable, marginalised and hard to reach individuals using nature as a means to engage them. And we do this by running courses in a woodland setting across Norfolk and Suffolk. We've been established in Suffolk for a number of years, over 30 years, but we're fairly new to Norfolk. We've been running courses at our site at Strumpshaw Fen, just outside of Norwich, for just over a year now. And they have been aimed at adults, but we now are branching out into young people. So we have some courses which we call natural alternatives, and they are aimed at 16 to 25-year-olds. So we're running these currently at Strumpshaw Fen. We've just started, and also we have a new site at Blickling Hall where we're running the courses, and soon to be a third site at Oxborough Hall, which is sort of Swaffham Way. So we are expanding quite rapidly in Norfolk, which is really exciting. So the courses run, the natural alternative courses run for 6 weeks, and they are 1 day a week. So participants would attend, say, every Tuesday for 6 weeks. And it's a full day from 10 till 2:30. We would aim to have about 6 to 8 young people on each of the courses, and that course would stay the same. So those participants would attend on the same day for the duration of the course. So we would hope to sort of build a community in that group as the weeks progress. The young people that we're aiming to help are those that are struggling with their mental health and well-being, who may be facing barriers which are hindering their progression in life. So it might be preventing them from taking their next steps or moving forward with life. They might be struggling, to stay in education, or even looking at, what their next steps might be, going into employment or volunteering or further training. So whilst they're on the course in the woods with us, we do try and support them with those next steps as well. We might bring in organisations who might be able to help them and signpost them depending on where they want to go. We aim to reduce isolation and anxiety in the young people and improve their mental and physical well-being, increase their confidence and self-esteem, give them a sense of structure and belonging, and improve their social and communication skills. And this is all while engaging them with the natural environment and teaching them practical skills as well, and life skills. So the day, we keep it quite flexible. It's all participant led, so it would all be very much dependent on what the group would want to do. But as a rough guide, the first thing we would do of a morning is make a campfire. So the participants would get involved in perhaps collecting the sticks, collecting the wood. Some might have a go at lighting the fire or be responsible for maintaining the fire throughout the day. We'd get the kettle on, make a hot drink. So make sure we have that opportunity to be as a group, to be able to sit down and communicate with each other and have an informal chat as well. Activities may include nature walks, woodland management, green woodworking, bushcraft skills. There's the opportunity to learn a number of skills, but nothing's, participants are free to just sit and be as well in the woods if they want to. So the mornings tend to be more of a group activity involving everyone together. Hot campfire lunch cooked in the woods as well, which is an important part of the day to learn about nutrition and healthy eating. And then the afternoon may consist of an individual project, so maybe a woodwork project like building or making a spoon or a bowl or something along those lines. That they're all free. The courses are completely free, and they're free to book online via our website. Participants can self-refer, or we can take referrals from agencies or schools. If you're booking on behalf of a young person who requires support to attend, then you're welcome to attend as well for all or part of the course. We can provide transport as well. We do that at the moment for Strumpshaw Fen via taxi. So we have a central point in Norwich, which is the train station. If participants get to the train station, we then take them directly to Strumpshaw and back again in the afternoon. But we can always look at transport on individual basis if it's coming from another area. So yeah, we will be in the future. The next steps of our expansion in Norfolk will be to then continue working with younger primary and secondary school children as well. That's our next steps. Not quite yet. So it's the natural alternatives, the 16 to 25 that we're sort of focusing on at the moment. But I'll stop there. I know we're limited on time.
Thank you, Louise.
You
That's great. I mean, you mentioned interestingly there, as in other projects, I think, you know, the ambition to expand and develop what you do to other age groups. I mean, that may well feature as one of the strands of our campaign, of course. You know, we can perhaps find ways of helping you to do that. One thought. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Helpful. Finally, because we did have another recording, but I don't think we're going to be able to listen to that. So we have our final presentation. It's from Iris Van Zon from Killings Care Farm and Amy Gedge from MTM Youth Services. Over to you both.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I wasn't sure. Okay, Killings Care Farm. So we're a county farm, 143 acres in Toft Monks. And since 2010, we provided placements to young people and adults, sort of year 10 onwards, very much a work-based environment. So the activities are sort of more suitable for all the young people, for want of a better word. So the educational placements, therapeutic placements, or work preparation placements. And a lot of the young people have benefited. They're often people that struggle in a mainstream school, education, and they've benefited and found that actually they can stay in education, they can move on to college as a result. Their mood improves, confidence improves, self-esteem improves. We also have had school visits and currently have quite a few visits from a local primary school, Albert Pye School, and they bring over a good group of children that struggle with school, and you can see the effect that it has had on them. Like one of the kids there whose attendance was about 50% has really turned things around and is now starting to go to school again. And so it's a lovely positive effect people engaging in the sort of outdoor work on the farm it can have on people. The other thing that we do is a lot of students come on work experience placement. I think this year we probably have about 9 work experience placements from year 10, and there are other work experience placements and volunteering as well at the weekends, Duke of Edinburgh. So there's a lot of young people engaged, and on top of that we have the youth group, which Amy is going to talk about later on. So, and that is sometimes some younger people as well. And I think that's kind of, for me, really important, because over the last 2 years with COVID, we've definitely seen there's an increase in requests for younger people, 10-year-olds, sometimes even younger, to come and be at the farm and spend some time here and enjoy the farm environment, you know, do farming activities. And we can't always meet that need. So it's nice that the youth group comes and that is there for some younger people. And I think for the future, that's something we may need to work at and may need to develop, because I think it's an unmet need with COVID, especially where young people have really struggled. So I think that for us is a hope for the future.
Okay, can we ask? Thank you very much, Iris. Ask Amy to say a bit about MTM.
Yeah, of course. So hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm a youth worker with MTM. Some of you might know me from my day job at Voluntary Norfolk as well. So again, like a lot of people on this call, I'm wearing 2 hats today. Just to tell you a little bit about MTM's relationship with Killings Farm. It's been going back quite a number of years now. And once a month, we take a group of young people from South Norfolk. It's all funded through the South Norfolk Youth Advisory Board. We take them along to Clinks Farm, and they just have a day enjoying activities on the farm. So they really get stuck in. We did a session Saturday just gone. We were planting courgettes in the morning, and in the afternoon, we were feeding goats and collecting eggs and just really getting stuck into what goes on the farm. The benefits for young people really is just seeing them engaging with nature, that informal education that we know youth work is really good at, learning what the food production system is like, understanding where their food comes from and what it takes to grow a courgette from seed and see it turn into something they can put on their dinner tables. But also seeing them grow in confidence. We see a lot of young people with low level mental health and wellbeing issues who maybe wouldn't meet the threshold for another service, but they can come to the farm, they can enjoy that time in nature. It brings them out of their circumstances, gives them a change of scenery. And by the end of the day, they're absolutely loving it and they've had a brilliant day, and it's really given them a well-being boost and a mood boost. So that's something, as I said, we do it once a month, and that's open to any young person in South Norfolk, and they can sign up via the MTM website, which is on your screens at the moment. So if you know any young person who either lives or is educated in South Norfolk, please do send them our way.
Lovely, thank you very much, Amy, and thank you, Iris, as well. Fantastic. I think if you just flip forward one, Graham, I think you'll probably just have a picture of Georgie Sheward, who was going to give us again a recorded message. Unfortunately, we can't play that, but Georgie is involved with the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme locally, which probably many of you know of. And I do know that she's very keen to look at ways of expanding that and raising the profile of it. So that's something we can perhaps look at again as part of the development process. That pretty much, I think, concludes the presentations. Before we move on to this final slide, which is, you leave it on there, Graham, that's fine. Has anyone got any questions for any of those who've presented today? If so, probably put your hand up, I think, in the usual way, and we'll see if you can get an answer. Anyone? If not, no. Okay. Well, we'll move on.
I think Timothy had a question, Nick.
Fine. Timothy, go ahead. Who's it for? Timothy, are you there? No. Can't hear anything. Did he put his hand up, Graham? Did you see it?
Yeah, hands up, and I think he's trying to speak. He's unmuted, but do you want to shout out, Tim?
Yes, I'm.
There.
Oh, Tim, hi.
Can you hear me? Only because I'm waiting. I wasn't sure whether you wanted me to speak, Nigel, but all of these are wonderful examples of how we're moving forward with young people and nature. And one or two of the speakers talked about the payoff, how we know whether the youngsters got some kind of experience of what kind of means it improve their social skills, it improve their confidence, it improve their commitment to their neighborhoods or to their families, or did it get them past some difficulties? What I'm wondering about is whether, not in terms of an answer from everyone, but do all of these groups have some form of evaluation of what is the value of this? I don't want to be instrumentalist to this, but you do want to know whether the people you're targeting are getting something from it and how you build on that for developing the program in the future, because it's not staying still at any point, any of you. And I'm just wondering whether we can get collectively, because it'd be very interesting to the parishes that I represent, Nigel, as you know, if we could get some kind of summary of how these various schemes are very, very valuable for young people at the level of a parish or the level of a local community, where you've got some evidence of how that change has taken place. I'm convinced there are very good payoffs. I'd like to know how that is put together and formulated and then summarised.
Thank you, Tim. I mean, a very, very, very important question, really, very important point. We don't have time today to get in detail, but I think that's an important thing that we need to consider as part of taking this campaign forward. You know, how do we, if you like, sell or persuade people of the impact of what's already happening? as a way of, if you like, seeking further development, support and expansion and so on. So let's hold on to that for further discussion. Is that all right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Can we perhaps mute if we're not speaking, please? We're getting all sorts of background noise, which is delightful in one way, but a little bit disruptive in others. If there are no other questions, I'm conscious of the time. I just wanted to pick up really where we go from here in terms of breakout discussions. What I tried to do, and this is yesterday, so there's more up to date version of this slide, which I will circulate around afterwards. This is really some of the hopes and expectations for the campaign that those who've contributed so far today have put down. And you can't obviously read all of that in the time we've got available now, but just to summarise for me, I think there were 6 key themes that come out of that, which you might like to think about in your discussion groups. One is about collaboration for greater impact. Second is about promoting existing and possibly developing existing nature connection opportunities, perhaps to serve new audiences and new age groups. Third is about increasing and perhaps developing new forms of nature connection activity. Fourth, we've got the idea of the need for greater equity in terms of access to nature connection. Very important point. Fifth, I've got participation of children and young people in the development and delivery of the campaign. I think that's very important. We've had a little bit of children's input today, but perhaps not as productively or helpfully as we could. But I'm very keen to see whether we can get young people involved directly in developing this campaign and obviously in delivering it as well. And finally, and a very important point, which I think several people made, about the ways in which connecting with nature can be used to promote caring and responsible attitudes towards it, which is something that's very important. Obviously, we know the loss of biodiversity in this country over the last 10, 30, 40, 50 years, a major problem that we're trying now to address, hopefully, but also the need to try and mitigate the impacts of climate change on nature and the landscape and so on. So it seems to me that this campaign has got a great opportunity to promote those attitudes, if you like, of responsibility and care. And it's something obviously that young people are increasingly, I think, concerned about and want to do things about as well. So with that, I would like to suggest we've got about, I guess, 20 minutes really, realistically in groups. I see that there's 21, I think, people on the call. So what I'm going to suggest is we break into 5 groups of 4, and I will sort of hover and dip in and out. Given you can't see me, I'll be a secret visitor to different groups to see how you're getting on and just get a flavour of the discussion. So 20 minutes. The first person I'll put into each group will be the facilitator, who will try to keep the discussion focused on really what we've been talking about. You know, what are your hopes and expectations for the campaign? What are the key things you think it ought to be addressing? Any features of it that you'd like to see developed, etc. And then I'd ask that person just to feedback one key point at the end for us all, and obviously keep a record of the other points that people have made in your discussions. So the group facilitators will be Graham, Kate, Isabel, and Amy, if that's all right. That's 1, 2, 3, Amy, and Louise Furman. Louise, if you're there, could you manage that? If that's all right, I'll put those people into the groups first, and fingers crossed the technology works. Right. hopefully you've all been allocated a room, and we'll see you in about 20 minutes.